Well, welcome to our call this evening. My name is Julie. I'm going to be your host, and we are so thankful that you are taking time out of your busy evening to hear the message that we have for you tonight. We are really passionate about what we have to share. We'll get you out of here in 30 minutes or less, but we're just thankful really that you sliced out some time and made this a priority. So myself, along with the people sharing tonight or the person who invited you, is a part of a unique group called the Healthy Living Revolution. And our goal is to come alongside of individuals and families and help them to take their health back in ways that are simple, doable, and fun. So we're going to share some education followed by a solution and then some really encouraging stories at the end. So we are passionate because I'm sorry, I hope I'm not moving slow for you all. This is moving slow for me. Because there are two really startling trends that are happening in our world today. And the first is that our environmental toxins are increasing. So whether this is products that we're putting on our skin, the air that we're breathing, the food that we're eating, the pharmaceuticals that we're taking, the water that we're drinking, our world is so much more toxic today than it was for our ancestors. And at the same time that our world is becoming more toxic, our food quality is severely decreasing. Okay, I'm so sorry. I think I lost you all. Are we good now? Okay, okay. I don't know what is going on with my computer. Okay, so our food quality is severely decreasing at the same time. And I love this image because this gentleman is in the center aisles of the grocery store. And I know I made a big shift in my health journey a couple years ago. And I decided to quit looking at the calories and fat in my food and to start looking at the ingredients. And I was shocked when I realized that most of what I was eating wasn't really even food, but it was more food-like products. It was full of ingredients that I couldn't pronounce or things that I couldn't recognize. And what's really scary about this is that our food should be our first line of defense against the increase in toxicity in our environment, but it's one of the biggest contributors. Our food is full of preservatives, enhancers, artificial colors, and hormones. And the result of these two things happening at the same time is really scary. So this is Dr. David Katz. He's the head of prevention at Yale. And he said years ago that this may be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. Since he said that, it's been proven true that if we do not make changes, this will be the first generation of children to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents. That's really scary because since the Industrial Revolution, that has not happened. We have not gone backwards in life expectancy. In fact, the CDC has decreased our life expectancy every year over the last 3 years, which is really scary. So we are talking about a time when we have more medical advances than we have ever had. And the fact that we are doing something today that's causing our life expectancy to go backwards is alarming. By age 12, many children have developed the beginning stages of hardening of the arteries. 1 in 3 children is obese, and 1 in 3 will develop diabetes. And more than 25% of children take prescription drugs on a regular basis. This is Dr. Bill Sears. He's known as America's Pediatrician, and he shares that really us adults are not faring any better. So 1 in 3 people live with some form of cardiovascular disease. In fact, heart disease is the #1 killer of both men and women. I don't know why I always assume heart attack and I associate that with men, but it is the #1 killer of women as well. And this is the stat that blows my mind. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men will have cancer. So I was just at a presentation a couple weeks ago and I learned that in the 1940s, the stat was 1 in 16 would have cancer. And now we are at 1 in 3 and 1 in 2. That is terrifying. 1 in 3 will have diabetes by 2050 and 1 in 3 is obese. But that's the end of the depressing information. We just wanted you to know some facts. But the reason why we're here and the reason why we're passionate is because this big quote here on the bottom. 75% of all chronic disease is preventable. And while there are definitely things that we maybe are just because of our genes, the truth is that many Americans are dying of lifestyle-related chronic diseases. And I believe for a long time, we didn't even realize our lifestyle was related to these diseases, correct? You know, if you know what I'm saying. In fact, my mom was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, which is a lifestyle-related disease. I mean, did she realize her lifestyle was contributing to that? Not exactly, but that's the piece that we're starting to put together. So I never want someone to feel like they caused their own disease, right? We're just now learning this information. So here's what's going on. Oh my goodness, I am not on tonight. Okay, so oxidative stress is linked to poor health. Well, what the heck is oxidative stress? Well, oxidative stress is the root of all disease, aging, and death. And as long as you're breathing, you have oxidation in your body. Now, there are things that you can do that can increase the oxidation in your body. Exercise is one of them. Being pregnant is one of them. So is smoking and staying up too late. So they could be both good or bad behaviors that can cause an increase in this disease, aging, and death in your body. And so what it is it's that we have these free radicals in our body that ping our cells over and over again, millions of times a day, and they cause damage to our cells. But Mother Nature knew we were going to have this stress, and it gave us a solution in the form of antioxidants. So whenever we eat antioxidants, they go into our body and they bind with the free radical, and they keep the free radical from pinging our cells over and over again. And a great way to think about this is to imagine an apple. When you cut open an apple and that flesh is exposed to the air and it begins to brown, to rust, and to age, we know that if we take lemon juice, an antioxidant, and we squeeze it over the flesh, it delays the aging process. Well, that's literally what antioxidants do for us internally and externally. They're anti-aging. They will slow down the oxidation. So we know where we get antioxidants from, right? From fruits and vegetables. But today's mass-produced produce is packing a much less nutritional punch. So there's two big reasons for this. The first is soil depletion, which I'm not going to go into tonight, but you should be aware of that. So Google it if you aren't familiar. The second is that it's mass produced. So we can go up to our local grocery store and get just about any fruit or vegetable we'd like most seasons of the year. But in order for that to be available to us, we are picking our fruits and vegetables long before they are ripened on the vine. In fact, I heard a really interesting comparison about this. So most of our plants get most of their nutrition within the last 24 to 48 hours of ripening on the vine. And I heard it be compared to a baby. So we know the difference between a baby at 40 weeks and a baby at 38 weeks, and 38 weeks and 36 weeks, 36 and 34. In fact, at the end of pregnancy, we know how important just a couple hours or a day or 2 days can be. Well, our fruit or vegetable, they're the baby of the plant, and they are meant to be connected to its nutrient source as long as possible till it's ready to fall off. That's when it's full of nutrition. So the result of us picking, when you go to the grocery store and you buy a green banana, okay, so it has like no nutrition in it, right? I shouldn't say no nutrition, but it has definitely not been ripened on the vine. So this is the result of us picking this stuff just way too early. This was the iron content that was present in a bowl of spinach in 1953. And in 1997, you had to eat 43 bowls of spinach to get the iron content that you got in 1953. And that was over 20 years ago. So this is super scary because I actually believe this image right here explains the statistics from the doctors earlier that we saw, because I think we all know that fruits and vegetables are good for us. I just don't think we realize how depleted what we're eating really is and how desperate we are for something more. So even though we're eating, and we've always eaten, 5 a day has been the goal, we really need a lot more. In fact, what a lot of people don't realize, and what's relatively newer research, is that that leaf of spinach that has iron in it, or an apple, a bite of an apple, we're starting to learn that it has much more in it than we originally thought. So they have found today that an apple itself has over 25,000 unique phytonutrients. Phytonutrients, that means plant nutrients. There was a time in the 1950s when we thought there were 12. That's when we came up with the multivitamin. So we thought there are 12 awesome nutrients in fruits and vegetables. We're going to recreate synthetic, put them in a vitamin, and we thought we were bridging the gap. And like I said, more recently, we're learning there is much more than 12, probably more than we'll ever know in our plants. They've actually found over 14,000 in one avocado and over 20,000 in one blueberry. But they've only named a couple hundred of those because that's how new this information is. But what we're learning is that all of these nutrients that you see next to this apple, they work synergistically together in your body to either heal you or keep you well from the inside out. So ingredient number 7 works with ingredient number 10,002 and 20,001. And so if you are a vitamin taker, or you have been, you may have gone through this realization when they, maybe I'm just going to throw out random names, but they have you taking zinc, and then they say, oh, well, you actually need selenium to activate the zinc, and you need magnesium to activate the selenium, which activates the zinc. Well, that's because we were never meant to take selenium. There was never a selenium tree. We were meant to eat an apple that has the zinc, selenium, and magnesium in it perfectly to work together and do what it does from the inside out. So you just saw the situation with spinach today, right? The iron content. Well, iron is just one of thousands of nutrients that's in that spinach that is severely depleted. I think that is a huge contributor to the healthcare crisis that we're having today. So if you imagine this apple with 20,000 unique nutrients and they are all so severely depleted, it's why we're not getting enough. So really, as a culture, as a society, we don't exactly have a vitamin deficiency. We have a whole food deficiency. We need it in its whole food form. So for a long time, they said 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and then they increased it to 7 to 13. But that's if you're healthy and you don't exercise, which doesn't even add up on its own. If you are fighting disease, if you're pregnant, if you exercise, you actually need closer to 16 to 18 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. I've read some studies that suggest in the next 50 years, we will need 30 servings a day to fight the increase in toxicity in our environment and because our food is so severely depleted. So the truth is that more matters. Nobody has too much of this good nutrition running through their body today. Even if you have a better than standard American diet, chances are you are depleted in some area. So that's why, those of us that are part of this healthy living revolution are so thankful that at some point somebody introduced us to this amazing product called Juice Plus. I love to give the backstory on Juice Plus because I think it's really cool. It was developed over 30 years ago by a doctor. His name was Dr. Smokey Santillo, and he helped cancer patients juice. So Dr. Smokey knew that, so he knew how powerful, all of these fruits and vegetables were. And his own dad was diagnosed with lymphoma, and he was given only 3 weeks to live. So he knew that he had to find a way to make his juice more powerful if he wanted to save his dad. So he decided that instead of just juicing a lot of fruits and vegetables, he was going to take the whole thing. So first he was going to let it ripen on the vine, and then he was going to take the whole thing with the pits, the peel, the rinds, the seeds, because a lot of the nutrition is in the parts that we throw away. So he took the whole thing, he threw it in a big Vitamix, he blended it up. He took what was left over, which was a slurry, and he dehydrated that slurry at a cold temperature to preserve the nutrients, and that resulted in a powder. That's what we have in our capsules. We call it powdered produce. And he ended up just pumping his dad full of this powder, and his dad lived for 6 more years. Not only did he live, but he had quality of life, which is so rare in cancer patients today. And it was at that point that Dr. Smokey knew that he was on to something. It took him a few years to find a company like ourselves that would explain this product in the way that we do, because it's not a vitamin, it's not a supplement, it's not going to sit on store shelves. It literally is food in a capsule. It's like Jetson food. He found that company a little over 25 years ago, and now Juice Plus has been on the market for 25 years. So I'm going to tell you what makes it super unique. But before that, I just want you to look at this variety. We have cherries, beets, pineapples, cranberries, bilberries, which I didn't even know existed, artichoke, broccoli, cabbage. I just want you to imagine, if you remember that ingredient list that you saw is in an apple. So each of these plants has a massive ingredient list, a massive list of phytonutrients that are present in it. And I want you to know that food is information to your body. So if they want to test you for breast cancer, they'll give you the same mineral that every time they give it to you, it goes straight to your breast. Isn't that kind of cool? That mineral does the same thing every time it gets in your body. So imagine that list that's in an apple, and imagine it doing the same thing and going to different areas that whatever that specific nutrient does. What if you had that for all of these over 30 different plants in your body every day, in your kids, in your husband, in your wife's bodies? And then imagine the effect of that a week over weeks, months over months, years over years of that consistent nutrition and what that could do to your body. That's what I think is so cool. I get all fired up just talking about it. So here's what makes Juice Plus so unique. The first thing is my favorite. It's that it's just food. You can't really see it right now, but it has a nutrition label. It does not have a vitamin or supplement label. This is just food in a capsule. You cannot overdose on it. If you can eat food, you can eat Juice Plus. When my kids were 6 months old, I opened up the capsules and I put it in their food because they're 6 months old. They're eating food. They can eat Juice Plus. That's when I knew this product was super unique. So it's full of what you saw that's in an apple, that phytonutrition, not isolated synthetic ingredients. It's non-GMO, dairy-free, and gluten-free. It's NSF certified. NSF is a third party that validates that what we say is in our product is and nothing more. It's the highest level of certification you can receive, and we've had it for over 20 years. But I love NSF because they ensure that these powders are free of any herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, yeast, mold, bacteria, and heavy metals, which is even better than I can say for the organic apple that I buy at the store. It's also why USA Women's Volleyball made Juice Plus their exclusive nutritional support. It's testing that extra, that awesome that Olympic and professional athletes can take Juice Plus. And then finally, when Juice Plus hit the market over 25 years ago, people just started to have their own unique experiences, which you're going to hear about in just a minute. But they decided they wanted to see, what is this doing on human beings with blood drawn? And we are the most researched nutritional product now in the world. We actually have 38 published studies. We have 9 underway. That's the most we've ever had underway. We've been researched at MD Anderson Cancer Center, Brigham Young, Vanderbilt, Yale, some of the most prestigious facilities in the United States and abroad. And we've been published in some of the most prestigious journals. So this is not done in a Juice Plus lab. This is done by some of the best of the best, which is awesome. And I'm going to take a second to tell you about my favorite study because it's amazing. So remember, I told you that heart disease is the #1 killer of both men and women in our country. And this was done at the University of Maryland, and it was published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. And it was the brainchild of a group of cardiologists. And these cardiologists know that over 50% of heart attacks happen 4 hours after consuming a high-fat meal. It's why Christmas and Thanksgiving are terrible days in the emergency room. And they wanted to see the effects of Juice Plus on heart health. So they took a group of people to McDonald's and they fed them a pretty standard McDonald's breakfast. And then they waited 4 hours and they measured the constriction in their brachial artery. And that's this gray bar that you see. So everybody had about 40 to 50% constriction just 4 hours after eating that high-fat meal, which is pretty crazy to think about. And then they divided the group up into 3. They put one group on a placebo. They put one group on our fruits and our veggies, our red and our greens. And then the last group was on our fruits, veggies, and berries. And then they waited just 28 days. So the green bar is 21 days later, and the purple bar is 28 days later. They took them back to McDonald's. They fed them the same meal, waited 4 hours, and measured the constriction in their brachial artery. So you can see the placebo group, they did have a slight reduction in constriction. They also had the least amount of constriction to begin with. And then our group over here on our fruit and our vegetable, they used to be called Orchard and Garden. They went from about 45% constriction, and they had a reduction in constriction of over 60%, just 28 days later. And then the group on all 3 with our berries, these berries are amazing for circulation. They went from almost 50% constriction down to less than 3%. And I love this study for a couple of reasons. Number 1, they didn't change anything else. All they did was add in 6 capsules full of powdered produce every day. They didn't also go gluten-free, vegan, dairy-free, all that stuff. No, they added in 6 capsules full of fruits and vegetables. And I think right now with our current wellness movement, it can be a little overwhelming that you feel like sometimes if you can't do it all, just screw it and not do anything. But this is a perfect example of the fact that your body recognizes the good. It recognized these capsules full of plants, and it knew exactly what to do with it. The other reason why I love this study is because they still ate the McDonald's. So this just shows you that you may still have the bad meal, you may still get the diagnosis or catch the bug, but maybe it won't last as long, or maybe your body will be better prepared to fight it. That's what happened. They ate the same meal and their body was prepared to handle it. And that is really cool because we don't know what's coming, but as long as we fuel our body well, our body can be better prepared to handle it. So I absolutely love that study. So our core products are our fruit, vegetable, and berry capsules. We also have these delicious shakes. These will actually fill your belly. They can be a snack or a meal. They come in chocolate and vanilla. They taste amazing. This is some macronutrition. So our company realized that in our country, we have a ton of macronutrition. Very little of it is of high quality, so that's where our shakes come in. They're low glycemic, so they stabilize your blood sugar. The number one thing my friends tell me is that these actually keep them full. And it's not because it's full of a ton of protein. It's because it keeps your blood sugar stable. They're vegan and non-GMO, gluten and dairy-free. They're full of plants and powerful prebiotic fibers and oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides actually help to heal the lining of your gut, So that's really important right now when a lot of people are dealing with leaky gut issues. And then finally, our last core product is our Juice Plus Omega Blend. So our company realized that most Americans are deficient in high quality omegas. And we know that omegas support the heart, brain, joints, skin, and eyes. Many people are bridging the gap with a fish oil, but fish oils have some issue. Number one, our fish are toxic, which is how we started out the whole talk. So when we're taking toxic fish oil, that doesn't help the toxicity in our environment. And number two, it's not sustainable. It takes 3 to 4 pounds of fish to make 1 ounce of fish oil, and our fish are already overfarmed. So what's really interesting is that the fish actually get their omegas from algae, from a plant. So we decided just to skip the fish and go straight to the plant. We also made it a full spectrum. So it's omega 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9, all from plants. It is the only omega product out there that is cold pressed, both in cold pressing our seeds and cold pressing our capsules, which then keeps the oil inside from being degraded in quality. So I love our omega capsules, and they taste like orange, no fishy burps, which is awesome. So I'm going to wrap up this part from a quote from Dr. Richard DuBois. So Dr. Richard DuBois was head of infectious disease in Atlanta, Georgia. He's been named America's top doc multiple times. And he was one of the first of now thousands of healthcare professionals to recommend Juice Plus. And what a lot of people say when they learn about Juice Plus is, if it's so great, how come I didn't really know about it yet? Or how come my doctor hasn't told me about it? Well, number one, your doctor may recommend Juice Plus. If they don't, you need to tell them about it, because many thousands of doctors do. However, we are still a grassroots movement. We've been around for 25 years, but if you're all in the health and wellness scene, you are learning that this is newer information, how powerful our food is, and specifically plants. So just know, doctors are curious. They're learning this along with you. So many of them do recommend it, but it is still very much a grassroots movement. So Dr. Richard DuBois said years ago that there is nothing available anywhere else in the world, with or without a prescription, that has been clinically proven to do what Juice Plus does, which is really, really powerful. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask Kelly Metcalf and her husband Steve to unmute themselves. They're both going to tell us their story, and just take it away and let us know how Juice Plus has affected your lives.
All right. Hi, guys. Thank you very much. So, I was 8 months pregnant when I found this product. So we're pushing 4 years actually. And I was at the tail end of just a rough pregnancy, to say the least. I was anemic, and the supplements, even though it brought up my numbers, I was exhausted all the time. I was exhausted. My SI joints and my hips kept coming out. They started at 4 months and they never ended. So I spent about 6 months, 5 months-ish in physical therapy. My eyesight kept changing, so I had various reading glasses. I felt like my mom. I would sleep 11 to 12 hours at night just to kind of function. I remember going to bed most nights like just crying because I just felt terrible. And like my hair was falling out, I had acne, and I was really swollen. And it was funny because everybody around me was like, "Oh, pregnancy," and I was like, "This sucks. I don't think I want to do this again. I don't think I can." Like it was just horrible. And so I was 8 months pregnant, found this out, and went, "Well, this makes a lot of sense. And these moms look like they're doing a whole lot better than I am. I got nothing to lose." And then it was encouraged during pregnancy and, breastfeeding and giving it to your kids at 6 months. And I thought, all right, well, that's different. That's, I can sign up for that. And so, I started right when I had my son. He got this nutrition through my milk. And, I really just felt like I was being put back together, honestly, after my first pregnancy. So I bounced back. I had a lot of energy. The things I saw first was I was craving fruits and vegetables. I was craving more water. And what I really took notice on was that I stopped having cravings for like the first time in my entire life. Things just seemed like they were stabilizing a lot better. And I felt like my body was like, "Thank you for this." My energy just went up. Fast forward to my second pregnancy, I had this nutrition throughout the whole pregnancy, and I had none of those issues. I wasn't even swollen, and I've got photos to show what my feet look like. It was just like my mom couldn't find flip-flops big enough during my first pregnancy, and it was just amazing. It's just the power of nutrition. And my son will be 4 in September. My daughter will be 17 months. or is 17 months, and neither one of them have ever been on an antibiotic. My daughter obviously got it all through my pregnancy and then through my milk, and then I opened up the capsules, and they get it every day. And neither one of them was actually at a sick visit to the doctor, besides pink eye once for my son, and we treated it with oils. But it's just amazing as a parent. It's a huge relief to be able to not see your kids sick, and to be able to know how to help them heal, even if they might get something like you had said. Maybe you get the bug, but you just don't feel it as much. You bounce back. And I had one thing that I really noticed recently. The omegas came out during halfway through my second pregnancy, and that mommy brain is real, and I really noticed it after Emily, and it was like, oh, there goes my brain. Like, it was like, felt like there's my mom. Here we go. And I in past year, I've really felt like my brain coming back. Like the words come up much faster. I can think of like things to say. My memory has increased, my mental sharpness, and so I honestly say I don't have that mommy brain anymore. And so that's kind of my story. I'm gonna turn over to Steve.
Just one thing to add there about the kids. It still just throws me when I talk to other friends and their kids are in the doctor's office like at least once a month, if not more, and they're on these antibiotics and they have to go to the doctor all the time. I'm like, our kids aren't like that. They don't go to the doctor except for checkups, and so it's one thing to just really take note of. Even when Ethan has even the slightest kind of little bit of a cold, it's like, I don't know what to do with you because you've never been sick. So it's like, it confuses all of us because we don't even know what to do. But yeah, he's never had to go to the doctor for like any sort of sick visit or anything like that, or antibiotic. My story bounces off hers when she was doing the Juice Plus. I was like, okay, thanks for wasting money. We'll do something else in another 2 months and we'll do the next thing. And like 8 or 9 months later, she was having all these great results of better sleep and energy and weight loss, even though it's not marketed as that. And I was like, well, okay, I've never seen you stay this long on anything, and you're having results that are staying there. So I said, sure, sign me up. So it was about, I guess, 3 years ago for me.
Yeah.
This summer. 3 years ago, and I dove right in. I got on the Trio, and I said, let's just do it. Let's just do an overhaul. And I dove right into the Shred 10. So there's a whole other thing. So I went full throttle and had great results. It was like night and day. Better energy, better sleep, just felt healthier. I lost weight. So like in the first 3 months, I lost like 30 pounds, even though it's not a weight loss thing. It just helped me to just eat better and be more active and just do things. And my cholesterol was very high. I just had naturally high cholesterol. It's genetic, but also from what I was eating was not good. Decades of bad stuff. So my cholesterol went down like 34 points or more. And I'll say this, with having 2 kids, it's a lot of stress. And my diet can fluctuate. Some weeks are really good and some weeks are really bad. But I love having that Juice Plus because it always is there. It's helping me bridge the gap. Because I just can't get enough fruits and vegetables, and you have those bad days, and it's there, kind of like your safety net. Like, hey, we're still here fighting the good fight for your body. And I've never gone back to that really bad weight I was at. My cholesterol has never gone back to those numbers. The Juice Plus has helped, even when I have bad weeks and bad months with having kids. My weight and my cholesterol have never gone back to those bad numbers. It's kept it low. So.
That is awesome, Steve. I love the way you said that. Like, because we're going to have days where we eat the pizza and the cookies and we just got back from vacation, but it's just consistent, which is so nice. It's always there supporting you. So I love that too. So I'm going to tell you my really quick story and then I'll wrap it up. I found Juice Plus almost 5 years ago. And at the time I was kind of annoyed when my sister dragged me to an event to learn about it because I had heard about a lot of other things that were marketed in similar ways. And usually they had a big warning label on them that you couldn't have them if you were, pregnant, nursing, or under the age of 12. And so I kind of believe that if you can't have it then, you probably should never have it. But I remembered that my uncle, who was fighting melanoma almost 17 years prior, was taking Juice Plus. And I thought that was really interesting. So I went to the event. My firstborn was 3 months old. And really when I learned that I could open the capsules and put it in his food is when I knew that it was unlike anything I'd ever heard of. And I was so excited because I had spent about 2 years prior learning about the connection between autoimmune disease and food. My mom was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis about 2 years prior to that. And I was looking for better options for her than the really hard pharmaceuticals that she was put on. And everything was telling me to juice. And so I thought, oh my gosh, I just found the easy button on juicing. And not only can I get it every day, but so can my kids. And I had zero expectations. So that's really what I encourage people. You know, don't get on Juice Plus because you want to see something super specific. Try to get on it because of the logical reason behind it. You know, I wanted to get on it for prevention purposes. So I was really shocked when 2 months in, I didn't have my regular sinus infection. I live in St. Louis. We have terrible allergies here. About every 6 to 8 weeks, I would get an allergy-induced sinus infection. I'd have to get on an antibiotic to get off of it. I had actually spent most of my life like this. This was so normal, I didn't even think it was weird. And I was just constantly on antibiotics all the time. They diagnosed me with chronic tonsillitis just to probably put a name on it. And that was just that was my life. I was just always sick. And so 2 months in, I hadn't had one. And now 5 years later, I have not been on an antibiotic for a sinus infection. Just this past season, I got one and it was bad, but I was able to fight it without an antibiotic, which was awesome. But truly, it went from regular to almost non-existent, which was amazing. I also found that I had more energy, which, you know, I was at a very busy time in my life, a working mom, you know, for the first time ever, and I had more energy than I'd ever had. And I also found I was happier, which I later learned that over 80% of our serotonin is made in our gut. So it made sense that I was just feeding my gut well and my body knew exactly what to do with that, and I absolutely loved it. When our company introduced the Juice Plus Omega blend almost 2 years ago, I was, again, annoyed. I guess I have a history of being annoyed, but I thought we have the best product. Why are we messing with perfection? But I trusted this company, so I got on our Omegas, and at that time, I was having these episodes in the afternoon where my face would get really hot, my mind would run 1,000 miles a minute, and my body would feel like it was in slow motion, which I think is anxiety. I was never diagnosed, but that's what would happen to me every afternoon, and I would tell my husband about it. Well, I got on our Omegas, and I have no idea how long, I would say weeks to a couple months. I noticed that those episodes were gone, and I thought that that was my own growth, like my own spiritual growth. I was just getting better at this whole mom thing. And a little bit later, I went to an event, and a bunch of women were telling me that their anxiety had really improved since adding the Omegas, which we know our brain is mostly fat, and Omegas are a great way to bridge that gap, which they've also linked postpartum anxiety and depression to an Omega depletion. So it probably did make a lot of sense that I was depleted in these. So now I'm crazy about our Omegas. But really what I love is it's just an easy, simple step that I can do every day, and it gives me a lot of peace of mind for myself and my whole family. So what we really invite you to do at this point is just one of three things. You know, maybe you're feeling really pumped up about fruits and vegetables, and you think that you're ready to make them like just a bigger priority. Maybe you're ready to buy more at the store and just try to eat more on your own. And if that's where you're at, we totally appreciate that. And we're glad you're taking a little bit of our message. We want to meet you where you are. But maybe secondly, you're interested in adding in Juice Plus. And if so, it is just the most affordable and most simple way that we know to get a massive amount of nutrition into busy families. There's an amazing program where any adult who takes Juice Plus can sponsor any child for free up to 4 years. So ask the person who invited you about that. But really, it's less than a cup of coffee a day, and it does a lot more good for you than that. And then finally, if you thought of anyone during this talk, sisters, moms, cousins, friends, anyone who you think needs to hear this message, that really is our goal. Our goal is to let people know that they put kale and broccoli into a capsule or chewable, and everyone deserves to know about that. So we're really on a mission to inspire healthy living around the world, and we could get this information to them if you thought of anyone. So please let the person know who invited you to this event or who shared this video with you. So at this point, I'm just going to